Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Roadish Podcast. My name is Rune, and as always, I'm here with Armin.
Hello, people.
There we go. We got it a little bit better than we did last time. Is because it was like formatted properly. Did you like that one, Armin? Did you like that
Yes,
one?
yeah, I
Okay,
like
fine.
that.
We'll stay
That
with
was
it.
good. That was good.
Cool. How are you? How you doing?
Very good. Very,
Yeah,
very good.
good week.
Yeah. Good day. Yesterday and today.
Okay. Anything you want to fill us in with your mysterious background?
I'm making progress. I'm making a very good weight loss progress. Since I last weighed myself, which is about 32 days ago, I've
Okay,
lost 2 kilograms.
nice.
So that's good. And 2% of body fat. So I was on 27.7 and now I'm on
Hmm.
25.4, I believe.
Cool. Is that the only thing that's like, oh yeah, this is why I'm having a good week slash 2 days?
There's other things that I would not prefer. I'd prefer to not
Personal things.
mention right now
Just
because
some personal things.
yeah. We'll
Okay,
leave it at
well,
that.
that's fair. Okay, no, that's fair. Um, oh, yeah, thanks for asking, Rune. How are you? Oh, thanks for asking.
Sorry,
I'm doing all
sorry,
right.
sorry. I was thinking of something else. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
of course
bro.
you are. You're
How
not even, like, focused for this. It's like,
I'm
"Ah,
sorry.
fuck
I'm
it."
sorry. I'm so sorry. How are you, my guy? How are you feeling? How's life treating you?
I'm doing all right. So work is work, so obviously still working, and it is what it is. Other than that, everything's kind of pretty chill. I don't make a big deal about it, and I don't think even you know this. I'm gonna use the phrasing within the next week is my birthday. Um, and it might sound
Yay!
counterintuitive, I suppose, to be like, "Oh, I don't make a big deal about it," but like I'm mentioning it here, it's maybe a topic that will come up in we'll talk about in the future, or will like properly come up in like a random conversation or something about how we feel about like maybe like holidays and bank holidays, or like how you go about celebrating things like Valentine's Day if you do that kind of thing, or Christmas if it's you do that religious or not, and or different like types of holiday. Because I don't give a fuck about any of it, including my birthday. Like I
Uh,
had one of the
you're that
HR
you
team.
you're
Oh, go
that
on,
type
go
of
for it.
person. You're that
Yeah.
type of person.
Well, you get to a certain point, I'm just like, I just don't care too much anymore. I had a HR person from work come up to me and was like, "Oh, have you got any days booked off anytime soon?" Because they were asking about holiday and stuff. I was like,
Yeah.
"No, should I have?" It's like, well, uh, I won't use the exact phrasing because it kind of gives it away, but they knew that it was my birthday soon, and they're like, "Oh, so you've not got any days booked off?" And I was like, "No, because I just don't care. It's not something that like fusses me." The thing that I always say is like, "I'll have a Chinese takeaway and like watch a movie or something." I'd be like, "Yeah, it's just it's another day for me." I was like, "Okay, cool, yeah, celebrate." Not doing something for the last year. Can't say that word yet.
What? Oh, oh, no,
Yeah, that
oh,
one.
oh, ah.
Yeah, I don't wanna go through the editing process of bleeping myself out, so, fuck that. Um, but yeah,
Ah,
in
yes.
general, everything's
Well
everything's
done,
fine.
well done for not doing that for the what
Yeah.
did you say?
Yeah, good start, good start. So the one thing I wanted to bring up before we go into today's topic is, not that things that is anything big. 9 Coolio 9. I'm just going to call you Coolio. Hopefully, you listen to this one. I really appreciate that you took the time to put a like thought out comment in the last video. Um, we didn't. So okay, not in the last one. It was actually number 8. Because we recorded episode 9, and I saw it after we recorded that episode. So that's on us. Like we know bad planning and all that. It's a really good comment. I don't agree with all of it, obviously, but I didn't want to reply. I did want to reply to it originally, but I then thought I'd just address you like this. I actually want to invite you on, like, to have a conversation, like, and we can fully go through it. And maybe it will just be like an ethics conversation. I don't know how you'd feel about that, Armand. I don't know if there'll be like something that you could put
Yeah.
into it. Um, but this is the kind of thing that I guess that we want to do is like we'll talk to anyone. Like we'll invite people in and be like, if you think you have a really like good viewpoint, which I think Julio does, by all means, we'll have a chat. Fuck it. Like I think it's better to do
Yeah.
that than through the tone of text. You can't really pick up on that kind of thing. So, yeah, Coolio, this is me just asking if you fancy coming on and having a chat about it. We'll set something up. We'll get you into the Discord, and it won't be like there's no obligation. We're not going to shout at each other. We don't really do that kind of thing. It will just be a chat, and if we end up disagreeing, great. If we don't, and we can like I don't know figure something out and be like, oh, I've moved a little bit or you've moved a little bit. Great, we'll do that. But yeah, rather than typing out some big ass comment replying to something, then yeah, that's That's what I have to say on that, essentially. But Armin, this was your choice for topic. So do you want to talk about what we were going to talk about today?
Great. So today, I came up with this idea while playing Warzone. Actually,
Obviously,
I
obviously.
obviously I was thinking of talking about the Ukrainian war and conflict around the world today.
Oh, you want to do like world conflict, or do you want to focus on like Ukraine in particular?
Let's see how much we can get through in half an hour. Well, now it's going to be like 10
Yeah.
minutes because we love talking about this stuff.
10 minutes. Yeah, no, that's fair. Um, okay. Did anything spur it on, or were you just kind of like, the timing seems right? Like, there's been
It's just
information that's come out and all that kind of thing, or is it just like, oh, this is a thing that interests me? Fuck it, we'll talk about it.
no, it's just that with obviously with the current events, it's very what's it called?
Prominent?
Yeah.
Is
It's
it
very
like
like
in the media?
yeah, it is, and it's obviously very important because of my home country being so close to Ukraine.
For anyone who doesn't, are you okay saying it?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Oh, I mean, it is in the fucking name of the podcast. But Armand is Romanian, so yeah, it kind of does make sense geographically and whatnot. Um, how would you sum it up of like your level of care for how much this like affects you? Like, obviously being reasonably close
Right.
to like your home country.
Uh, affect me? It doesn't affect me directly, but what it does, it raises the level of concern that I have
Hmm.
for other countries of getting involved and then actually having, because obviously no one wants to be at war
Of
except
course.
Putin for some reason.
Yeah.
But no one wants to be at war, and it would be horrible to be at war. And I'm thinking, sitting here being like, what if a war starts?
Yeah.
How would my life be affected by this?
Yeah.
That type of thing.
It depends on the level as well. Like, what kind of war are we talking here? Like, are we talking like Cold War kind of stuff? Where like there's no boots on the ground, no blood spilled, but it's all like cyber, or whether it ends up being like full on nuclear, oh shit's going down kind of thing. So it obviously depends on
Yeah.
the type. Um, but what I suggested for this is we're going to do a quick timeline, very kind of like just outlining how things have been since 1991, which is when Ukraine gained their independence as a sovereign country. And then I think we're going to agree on a lot of things, if I'm totally honest. But maybe our
Most
reasoning
likely.
is slightly different. Like that's the interesting bit is like why rather than just the turn of events, if you will, our moral founding behind it. I don't think that's the right phrasing. The why, essentially, the why we think a certain thing. Um, so I've got a timeline in front of me here. I'm going to go over a quick few of them. Some of them are important, some of them not so much. And then we've got like a more recent timeline, and we'll just dot and dab whenever we feel in between talking about certain aspects of it. But you cool for me to go through timeline?
Go for it.
Cool. So they're like a sentence each. They're not much. So 91, Ukraine declares independence following the attempted coup in Moscow. We're not going to go back any further than that, but obviously, if people want to look into the history, then fine. But we have to recognize that Ukraine is a sovereign nation, as like an independent country. Um, through the 1990s, 250,000 Crimean Tatars, I think is how you pronounce it, and their descendants returned to Crimea following collapses of the Soviet Union. Uh, the next one is being 94 presidential elections. I think it's Kushma is how you pronounce it. Succeeds Kravchuk, I think is how you pronounce it. I might butcher some of these names. I'm sorry. Conducts policy of balancing overtures in the West and alliance with Russia, so that still got alliance. They're next door. You kind of got to look out for your neighbors. In '96, you got a new democratic constitution adopted. Um, a different currency. I'm not going to try and pronounce that one. Hryvnia, maybe? Hryvnia?
The Ukrainian currency. Come on, man,
Yeah,
that's easy to pronounce.
I have no idea. How would
Well,
you pronounce that?
one sec. It's like, are we talking about the old Ukrainian?
No,
I
I don't
might
know
be
whether it's
chatting
new
shit.
or old now. The Hryvnya.
Oh, the
Hryvnia?
yeah. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, that one. I don't know. So the 2000, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant is shut down after 14 years after the accident. Then we've
Hey, they
got
only shut it down in the 2000s.
yeah, it was 2000, year 2000. Then
Wow.
we've got 2002, general election results in a hung parliament. parties opposed to President Kuchma alleged widespread electoral fraud. If I remember correctly, this might be 2002 is where the amount of people in was it Crimea? I might be a little bit wrong on this, but from what I can remember, and I'm not reading off of anything, so I could be horrendously wrong. This is the one where they thought it was a really corrupt, um, not voting system, but like the way that the question was asked was essentially, do you want to still? I think it was like, do you still want to be ruled or like part of? As you know, I think that might be where they tried to do like a Brexit type situation where they tried to separate themselves from Russia rather than having allegiance. I don't know. I'm chatting shit, so we won't go into that.
I'm chatting shit.
Yeah, it might be.
Okay.
So I don't want to confuse different events because if we're doing a timeline. Then 2002 in May, government announces decision to launch formal bid to join NATO, which obviously is going to come up more recently as well. We've then got 2004, the opposition leader Yushchenko launches mass protest campaign over rigged elections that gave victory to pro-Russian candidate Yanukovych. Yanukovych. Supreme Court later annuls poll result. So I say this is the time where I think some shady shit happened, and I'm pretty sure it's Yankovic ends up fleeing the country because of mass protest. Um,
I
Not
don't
too
know.
sure.
I don't know.
2005, Yankovic becomes president after winning December election rerun. Relations with Russia sour, leading to frequent disputes over gas supplies and pipeline transit fees. 2006, Socialist Party abandons the Orange Revolution, which is all part of what's going on with this voting. Allies to form coalition with Yankovic Party of Regions and the Communists. 2008, global financial crisis. 2008, where everyone was affected. Leads to the decline in the demand for steel, causing prices of one of the country's main exports to collapse. Value of the Ukrainian currency falls sharply. Investors pull out. Yankovic comeback is the next 2 years of two things in 2010. Yankovic is declared winner of the second round of the presidential election in 2010 again. Parliament votes to abandon NATO membership aspirations, so they don't want to join NATO at that point. And 2011, a court jails former Timchenko for abuse of power over the gas deal with Russia. Not too sure on that one. And then we've got we've got a bit of a jump. I'm going to do a little bit of a jump for. We're going to skip the 2013 because that's all the protest. For 2014 is the security forces kill 77 protesters in Kiev. President Yankovic flees to Russia. Opposition takes over, so that's where he flees. Again in 2014, Russian forces annex Crimea, which is where they had a big insurgence of Russian descendants. They were essentially trying to say like this belongs to us because of the people's nation or like ethnicity in that particular part of Crimea.
Oh yeah.
Prompting biggest East-West showdown since the Cold War. US and European Union impose ever harsher sanctions, as they will. April 2014, pro-Russia armed group seizes parts of Donetsk. I can't remember how to pronounce that. Donetsk, maybe. And Luhansk regions of the Russian border. Government launches a military operation. The next month, so still 2014, leading businessman Petro Poroshenko wins presidential election on a pro-Western platform. So they want to adopt some of the stuff that we've got. Pro-Russian forces shoot down the Malaysian airliner over the eastern Ukraine conflict zone, killing 298 people on board. I believe that was quite a big thing in the news that plane was shot down over Ukraine. NATO and this again still 2014. NATO confirms Russian troops are heavily military equipment entering eastern Ukraine. Parliamentary elections produce convincing majority for pro-Western parties. Don't think anything. So we've got things about the Donbass deal. Economy returns to fragile growth after 2 years of turmoil. Ukraine's association agreement with the EU. So we've got the big bridge. Okay, I'll go from this bit because this is more recent. I'm guessing you've seen the news about the bridge.
What bridge? The bridge they destroyed?
Yeah, the bridge that was destroyed. So in 2018, that was when it was officially opened, a bridge linking southern Russia to Crimea, an action Ukraine calls illegal. In the same year, 2018, Constantinople agrees to allow Ukraine to set up its own Orthodox church. Don't know if that's really relevant to the whole thing. The last little bit. So President Zelensky, obviously he's taken office, and that's who Ukraine is currently ruled by, president-wise. 2019, television comedian Vladimir Zelensky wins presidential election runoff in a landslide over Poroshenko. Um,
Mm.
this is all in 2019, apart from the last one, so I'll make that clear. Parliament appoints Zelensky aide Hoshrank prime minister. I'm not sure. His aide, essentially. Um,
Mm.
Russia and Ukraine swap prisoners captured in the wake of the Moscow seizure of Crimea and intervention into the Donbass. Ukraine becomes embroiled U.S. impeachment row over allegations of President Trump attempting to put pressure on the country over investigating possible Democrat president rival Joe Biden. So that was all the Russian interference and propaganda that interfered with the 2018 election, I believe it is.
Uh,
That whole thing, and the meeting between Trump and Putin, which was fucking pointless, but it led to what it led to. And in 2020, President Zelensky appoints former businessman Denis Shmyhal prime minister with the mandate to stimulate industrial revival and improve tax receipts. So that's kind of like an overview of pretty much as what happened. We've got some newer stuff from 2021 and to 2022, but they're kind of like smaller points. Um,
mm.
so that's kind of like a very quick overview history lesson. And obviously, more recently, there's been like attacks and there's been like bombings and all that kind of thing. I'm guessing you side with Ukraine as a general term.
Yes.
Okay.
Obviously, what I wouldn't side with Russia because, right, first of all,
Mhm.
the Russian people are absolutely innocent.
Of course, yeah, we're not blaming the
Uh,
civilians
I'm,
involved in this.
I'm not gonna go out and say, oh, the Russian people are the worst. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
It's most likely Putin. He wants something. I don't. No one knows what it is. He's not being very clear, but he wants
Well,
something.
he wants to take back Ukraine with the idea that, especially when it comes to Crimea, is that the ethnicity of the people there is mostly Russian, but that's because they were placed there. I believe one of the earlier history points that we had was 250,000. Let me just check
Mm.
the. So we had 250,000 Crimean Tatars and their descendants returned to Crimea following the collapse of the Soviet Union. So at that point, it's because they were placed there, so they're obviously going to be like pro-Russia because that's like where they've come from,
Ah,
essentially. I think it started with like he wanted to annex Crimea to be able to take it back and like take it into um, like the Russian border, and then I think it's like expanded into Ukraine, saying no, you should be part of us as well, because they don't have things like NATO protecting them.
right,
But
right.
that's just my viewpoint on what I've like heard here and there. But as you say, it isn't clear. There isn't like a we are doing this because of this. There isn't one of those, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah,
Um, I obviously side with Ukraine as well. Why wouldn't I?
exactly. Why wouldn't you?
It's more of a. I was going to ask you if you have like a why of why are you on
I
Ukraine's
side
side
right.
rather than Russia's.
I side with Ukraine because they've done nothing wrong. They just sat at home, watch the TV, and then the houses get bombed for no reason. Like,
Mm,
like why? The Russia didn't have good enough reasoning. They can't just go, "Oh, you attacked us." No, we didn't.
mm.
And like they have no good reasoning for attacking except from the fact that I felt like attacking.
Well, again, I feel like it falls back on the whole that they feel that Ukraine is or they should be part of Russia. Essentially, they're trying to secede part of or like Crimea and then further into Ukraine to be like, no, you should be part of the Mother Russia, if you will. Like, it should be part of the bigger establishment. I think it also has something to do with is it? I believe it's Belarus that is part of NATO. I can't remember if Belarus is part of NATO.
Belarus is not part of NATO. Belarus is
No,
like
I
helping
think I think they've had
thingamajig.
yeah, I think it's been like a heavy NATO thing as well because there's a border. I think Belarus also borders Russia, if I'm getting this correct. If I might be
I
slightly wrong on this.
believe so. Yes.
Yeah, and they have it's like a path essentially for NATO to be able to invade Russia. So they're almost like preempting. They're almost like arresting someone before they've done a crime, kind of thing. They're
Uh
taking proactive action to be like, you could do this, but you
if you
haven't
wanted
yet.
to.
Yeah, but because you could do this, we're scared or like we're worried or there's a fear there that NATO could invade into Russia, and it's like, oh, you have a really strong port of entry essentially through Belarus, and I can't remember what the other country is. There's another bordering country that could be something to do with NATO as well. But I feel like that might be why. Obviously, as far as I'm aware, NATO hasn't actually intercepted anything, and they're not like getting involved because that would step things up quite quickly. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, obviously a lot of it comes down to politics and whatnot. And as you say, Ukraine were just kind of sat there watching their TVs, and it was like, oh shit, Russia want to invade. Um, then more recently, how do you feel? I'm not asking for like matter of fact stuff, but like how you feel about something. How do you feel about the Poland bombing?
They bombed Poland?
So, let me get the actual news thing of like actually what happened. Uh,
Okay.
so, um, I want to. So, a missile strikes Poland. Um, let's have a look. So, a missile slammed into a Polish village on Tuesday, which would have been the 15th of November. It killed two farmers and brought Russia's war on Ukraine directly into the territory of a NATO ally. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, there was speculation and assertion by Ukraine's government that Russia had struck Poland, risking a direct NATO response and an expansion of the war. So it's almost like I feel like it could have been like a misfire, if you will. Let me just have a quick
It's
read.
a
What
misfire.
Well, I don't think it landed exactly what they were hoping to do. I think they were just trying to like raise tensions. But then
Oh, okay.
Russia have like denied it and said no, it wasn't to do with us. Which seems weird, especially when it's like so close to what's been going on and whatnot. Um, it was unclear who had fired the missile. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky asserted it was a Russian attack, but the Russians have denied it. Um, it risked deadly consequences beyond the tragic deaths of the farming village, obviously. Poland is a member of NATO, so could have been trying to coax something out of NATO to take movement or do some sort of aggressive move. Um, Speaking of aggression, that's why I side with Ukraine because more often than not, obviously context does matter in most situations, but when it comes to this, Russia are the aggressors, and there's not really many examples that I can think of where you wouldn't side against the aggressor. Um, like if you were
Mm.
to take a self-defense point of view of it, like if a man is trying to attack a woman, you're going to side on the woman's side because typically the man is the aggressor in that situation. I feel like it's very much the same. Um, as far as
Mm.
I don't know, I want to have a quick check. This is one thing I probably should have checked beforehand. Does Ukraine have nukes?
No.
No. So they've never had an independent nuclear weapons arsenal, so they've never had anything like that. So this is the scary thing, and see if I know that I've talked a lot through this. So I'll let you take over in a minute. The I want to see if I can get your viewpoint on it as well. Do you think because Russia have nuclear weapons and Ukraine don't, that they have a right to invade?
Wait. So you're saying that Russia has the right to invade Ukraine
Oh no, I'm
because
not
they
saying
have.
that. I'm asking. Do you
Okay.
think
Okay.
Russia have the right to invade Ukraine because they don't have nuclear weapons? Russia have nuclear weapons. Ukraine doesn't. Do you think they have the right to invade because of that?
No, that makes right. No, that's so stupid. No, that's like me saying, "Oh, I'm allowed to shoot that guy because he doesn't have a gun." No,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
retarded.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, it is the highest level of autism. It's pretty much what I've seen on Twitter quite a lot. Is for some reason, a lot of people have it in their mind that because they're a stronger force, they can have a show of force over somewhere that they want to invade. Obviously, with the Russian apologists, if you will, is that they have a right to because of the ethnicity or the nationality of like certain parts of Ukraine, like Crimea. Um,
Mm.
I think what in those arguments, a lot of people ignore 91. Ukraine was identified or like they applied for. I don't know how the system works, but like it was what's the word? It begins with A. Not accomplished. They didn't accomplish. It was acknowledged. That's the one I'm after. So it was acknowledged by places like the EU, the US, and all that kind of thing, that Ukraine was a sovereign
Foreign
nation.
country.
They
Yeah.
were independent. They chose to be independent. They voted on it. Blah blah blah. Obviously, they've had some shady stuff happen when it comes to presidential elections and things like that. You know, you've had people fleeing to Russia because of it, protests because of it, and obviously that's like through the 90s and whatnot. Um, I just think
So
it
you
leads to a
obviously you're not allowed to mention that. You're
well,
like you can't mention that's a Russian person. You know.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of Russian people. This is complete conjecture. I have nothing to go off on this, but okay. Um, I have a feeling that a lot of Russian people would probably disagree with what's happening, but they wouldn't be able to speak out against it because of how like dictatorship-esque Russia is when it comes to a lot of things.
Oh yeah.
Um, like having a vote with a gun to your head isn't really voting, is it? It's like, well, this isn't really a democracy. It's like, do this thing or you die. And it's like, okay, well, you know, I just want to go about my life. Thanks. I guess I'll put this tick on a piece of paper. Like that's how I feel about it. Um,
I'm sorry,
yeah,
just the way you worded it though.
it's like, well, it's how it feels that it's being like expressed. But then there's also like I'm trying to think of how it would affect other places. So if Russia felt like they had um, some sort of right to take back over Ukraine uh, because they have nuclear arms, at what point does that stop? Like, what does
What do
it
you mean?
lead? Like, so it's in the same way that you say about I'm allowed to shoot this guy because I have a gun and he doesn't. Well, that's obviously fucking stupid. We see it's fucking stupid because the other person, not because they're not able to defend themselves, it's because the aggressor is saying, I have more power than you, I can do what I want. We don't
Yeah.
apply that to pretty much anywhere else. So I don't know why there are people siding with Russia in this particular instance because that just means that any country can invade another country because they have more power. Like that leads to almost unfathomable things. Um, but we just don't apply that anywhere else. It doesn't make sense that that would be the reasoning or the right that they would have. So, oh yeah, well, you know, we're bigger in this and the other. Um, how do you feel about Ukraine having been so successful in like defending themselves against Russia?
I feel like there was it's a good thing, you know.
Well, yeah,
No,
we already agree that it's a good thing, but like, go into it more.
let me word it better.
Hmm.
It's it's good because it shows that it's not like it's not impossible, you know.
Hmm.
Because maybe
Well, yeah,
some maybe
I
so.
believe at one point Putin was like, "Oh yeah, we'll have it in 2 weeks."
Yeah, nah, mate. It's been a few months now.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, it's I don't like where that leads. Is essentially like I have more power than you, so I have the right to do so, and it's like, well, no, essentially, like I can't really put into words how that doesn't work in so many different aspects of different people's lives. It's like I'm older than you, I'm bigger than you, or like I'm stronger than you, so I get to exert my force. And it's like, well, no, obviously not. Um, we've done a lot on, so we've spoken about a lot about the past. What do you think will happen in the future? If you were to completely speculate, you have no fucking clue like how it's obviously going to play out, but how do
All
you
right.
think it will play out? Like let's say in the next 4 to 6 months.
I don't believe there'll be much advancement made.
Well, from the Russian side,
Yeah,
okay. You reckon they'll just like sit on a border somewhere?
most likely.
Okay. You don't reckon that there'll be some sort of like Putin stomping his foot and like having a bit of a tantrum in the middle of a shopping aisle and or just
No,
going
because
for it and being like, "Oh, fuck it, send them all." Like, just yeah, we're gonna missile strike everything, and it doesn't matter what happens. I'm gonna be the king of ashes.
fascist. No, I don't think that's what this will happen because one, if he starts a nuclear war, then everyone else will just start throwing nukes at him. So I don't think he one is that stupid, and two, I don't think any of the other commanders will accept the orders because in America, right? Quick trivia for you: in America, if the president says, "Okay, we're launching nukes," no one can go against it, right? Says we're launching
If
nukes,
it's
we're
done,
nuking.
I don't know if under executive action you can do that. I don't know if it has to go through Congress.
It
Let me
doesn't.
check it. Can the US uh, launch nukes on his own? Once the codes have been verified, the president may direct the use of nuclear weapons through executive order, being the chairman of the Joint of Chiefs of Staff to the combat commanders and ultimately to the forces in the field exercising direct control of the weapons. So yeah, he can do a executive action to fire nukes. But it says he may, so it's obviously different. But it means he has no like. I think there would be a lot of like ethics committees and probably a lot of like social protests. Be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, yeah, but no.
Um,
Yeah, but no. It's no. Like if the president wants to launch nukes, he will launch nukes, right?
mm,
But in Russia, for Putin to launch nukes, all of his other top commanders have to agree at the same time, concurrently, that they will want to launch nukes. So it's even if Putin decides to go absolutely mental and have a tantrum,
mhm,
I believe that his commanders will be down to earth enough to be like, mate, that this is not the play right now. It's
mhm.
not the way to go. Right?
Um,
Maybe they'll be like, nah, let's nuke them. But I don't believe this would happen.
let's have a quick camera. Check at hand at all times. One of three, the other two by. Yeah, so the affirmations of two or three are needed to trigger an actual launch. So this is the president of Russia is also the supreme commander in chief, very similar to the US. Um, has a Chegit. I'm not sure what a Chegit is, so I'm guessing like a code or like some sort of pass on hand at all times. Is one of three. The other two are held by the minister of defense and the chief of the general staff. So yeah,
There you go.
he can't do it on his own, but he only needs the affirmations of two. So
Yeah.
so it could be himself and one of the others. With how Russia like dictates itself, is that the right word? Or like how they feel about certain things
Yeah.
and how they go about certain social situations. I feel like it could be quite easily to coerce one of the other two people to just be like, "We're doing this." But
Right.
even so, there's like a checks and balance in place to some degree. Um, And you would hope that the US president would be like ethical or have a higher moral standing to just be like, yeah, we're just going to launch one over there. Because then it's like you just ended up shooting them back and forth then at that point. And it's like, well, yeah, you're going to be the king of a pile of ashes. Hopefully not. Um, as a last thing of what I
Hopefully.
think will happen in the next kind of like 6 months. I somewhat agree with you. I don't think much will happen. I think Russia will just kind of sit on the border, especially if there ends up being some emergency action to get Ukraine into NATO. I don't think that will happen because I don't think it's necessary. But
No,
who
because you see,
knows?
if they get Ukraine into NATO, that means that NATO has to fight for Ukraine, which means world war, and no
Yeah,
one wants
which will
that.
yeah. I don't think that will happen. I think that's been like recognized. I don't think that will happen. It'll be like an emergency situation if it ever were to happen. But
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it would just be a lot of defensive measures and the attempt of Ukraine to just kind of settle and get things back on track when it comes to like imports and exports. Um, Especially when it comes to, like, the energy for the UK. Obviously, the thing that people are feeling the most in the UK is, like, the energy crisis or, like, cost of living crisis because of things like fuel and, like, heating their houses, essentially, especially over winter, so
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we'll have to see, but it's all conjecture. We're just having an opinion on something. I hope that we haven't said anything false. That's what I'm worried about.
Well, we haven't really stated anything. We've just given opinions and we've just talked about things. We haven't
Yeah.
really.
We haven't been like, "Right, so there's this conspiracy theory, right?" I'm not even gonna go down that road. Like, even, like,
Well,
ironically, it might be picked up weirdly, but
I'm not. I'm not gonna. I was gonna say something, but then I realized it's no
you know what?
good. So
If we ever make a Patreon, maybe we'll do some mini episodes of a follow-up of every podcast that we do and be like, "Right, this is what we properly think." Like, I think this is like a generalized version to try and cram into a, like, a podcast timing. But then they'll be like, right, we're going to have some heavy-handed conversations that we can't really post anywhere else. But I don't know. Anyway, to wrap things up, thanks for listening. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Coolio, if you want to pop on, I know, pop a comment down below. We'll hook up. We'll see if a way that we can link to each other, and we'll figure that out. To anyone else that wants to comment, if you've got like heavy viewpoints on things, then by all means let us know, because we'll more than likely have a conversation with you. It might just be in the form of actually having a chat rather than through comments, because I don't feel we can properly put into words how you feel about something or how you think about something, other than
Yeah.
just posting links to like fucking surveys and studies and that kind of thing. Also,
Us.
quick gripe, because it's right at the end. So if you have listened this far, then well done, Armin.
Yeah.
You said you were going to post on socials.
Okay. Right. To my
Okay.
defense, what the fuck am I posting, you knobhead? You haven't sent me any clips, anything at all to work
I'm
on.
not gonna. I do all the other background work. I do literally all the other work. You just turn up and talk shit, okay? And I make sure that this video goes up. I don't even know. It's not going to go up on
Okay.
time tonight, but fuck it, okay?
Okay, yeah, I'll take care of that soon.
Yeah, see what you can
Yeah.
do. I don't know, even if it's just some fucking.
Also, I've changed this for every single pod we have. Instead of having the every single link laid out, I put the link tree in there, which I will do for this podcast when it goes
Okay.
up, because or I'll just send Rune the link. I
Yeah, that's fine.
don't
Either one, because I do the
either one.
descriptions and whatnot. Although I will
Yeah,
say, in the last one, did you didn't edit the description for the last video, did you?
I did. I edited them for all of them. I
Oh
think.
right, okay. Because for the last one, I was like, where the fuck is the links? They were just weren't there. I was like, I'm pretty sure I
I
copied and pasted this from the notepad I have.
I have one second.
Been caught
Yeah.
out.
The link tree to the Roadish Pod. Yeah, it's the link. Yeah, it's there. It's there on
Okay,
number
that's
10.
fine.
Right.
Okay,
Well,
cool, sweet.
this has been
Right,
number 11. Thank you for
sweet.
listening to this. Sorry for putting you through the pain. See you next week.